Let's go to Dan Quinn's press conference today. We've been trying to make sense each day of what he's saying and what it means, most importantly, for Jayden Daniels. Are we going to see him again, or are they shutting him down? So I take you back to Monday, where for the first time, I guess it was actually Wednesday for the first time, when they got back to practice, when he said that he wasn't willing to just go out and say Jayden will definitely come back. He was asked about Daniels, talked about we haven't had those conversations, and the tone really shifted from, oh, he's obviously going to play against the Eagles, to, wow, maybe we have seen him for the last time this year. Today, we're back to talking about his health being the only thing that matters. I take that to mean a shutdown isn't being considered.
It's less likely, maybe.
If his health is all that matters, once he's healthy, then he's going to play. But that's not even the most interesting thing he said. The most interesting thing Dan Quinn said today was that Daniels, who we've been told would have gone back in the game on Sunday, is currently not cleared for contact. So he would have, after getting hurt, gone back in the game if they didn't, as a precautionary measure, keep him out of the game. But if you fast forward 5 days to Friday now, even though he didn't have some significant setback, even though he's not hurt, even though there's no real legitimate injury or anything here, there's no re-aggravation in terms of a dislocation, we're at a point where Jayden Daniels is not cleared for contact. This is Dan Quinn earlier today.
It was good to have him for practice for sure. When you're a young quarterback and young player, the growth is important, but we'll definitely let his health be the driving factor in that. And so he wasn't cleared for the contact portion, but he was able to get some reps and going through some things. So as we get through into the next week, I'll have a better sense. But it was good to get 3 days of practice. Obviously, for him, until things are fully, able to be himself, no restrictions, that's would be the driving factor. But I like the work. Continue to get the development, obviously with up and down from practice times, and when you can to get 3 days in a row of practice work, that's important.
I'm going to do my best to describe what I think's going on based on all the efforts I've made in the conversations with people over there and just reading tea leaves. But I have to first say, this is so convoluted and so confusing. And
Does anyone speak Dan Quinn? Did anyone go to school and speak Quinn?
I mean, every couple of days it changes, I feel like.
Yep. It's not hyperbolic either. It's exactly what happens. It's almost like a new Now, I understand that this isn't like a guy coming back from surgery, 21-day practice window is opened, and you're sort of, kind of bound by certain parameters. This is a very fluid situation. So I understand rhetoric to a degree reflecting that, but not to this extreme. I mean, this is just we're in a Dan Brown novel. We're looking at clues, and we're looking at behind the Mona Lisa to try to figure out who's playing when and what the governing forces are, why something happened, why it didn't happen, and we're looking for clues, and there's no good answer. Because, and again, this sounds like I'm being critical, and at this point I'm not, I don't think they know yet. And that's what's coming through. Yesterday I thought they knew. Right now, I don't think they know what their plan is beyond the next couple of days. I think that's where they are, and the mysterious rhetoric, I think, is following that.
What I think is that Dan Quinn's trying to guide everybody into caring about what he wants them to. And so he answers in these vague ways about the things he doesn't want to talk about today, and it just leads to confusion. Here's what I mean. Today he wants it to be about the Giants. He wants the questions to be about Johnny Newton and Ben Sinnott and playing New York in the Meadowlands and Jackson Dart and Kafka's offense as opposed to Dable's offense. And so when Daniels comes up, he just kind of says the thing he has to say to get to the next answer. But when we're juxtaposing it, when we're reading it for what he says and doesn't say and parsing everything up in detail and stacking up the tape, so to speak, the audio next to every other answer you've given, well, you're not really prioritizing the answer. You don't care that much about what you're saying. You're just trying to get past it. Things don't add up because they're inconsistent. But here is what I actually think is going on, best I can tell. On Sunday, he was obviously cleared for contact. He played in a football game. They felt like there was 99% chance that nothing could happen to the elbow that would be particularly damaging, unless he fell directly on the elbow being dropped from a lifeguard stand, which is essentially what happened after he's chasing down an interception. So to their credit, there was a very small, slim chance that he could have had the injury, whatever we're going to call it, the pain, leaving the game, the issue take place that did.
Right.
So I'm not going to fault them for that per se, but it happened. He comes to the sideline In-game, what happens is they test for internal damage. They make sure that the ligaments and all those things are good. They make sure everything is structurally sound. And then they do what they call like these, movement tests. Like, can you brace yourself without immense pain? Can you stiff arm someone? Like all that stuff in the blue tent. And the range of motion stuff, he passes it all. So what we're dealing with then is a pain threshold issue. You didn't re-injure anything severely. You're okay to continue to play. You got all the adrenaline in the world going right now. You can go back in there. And that's where I've been saying, and I think Dan Quinn has been saying, look, if this is somebody else, if it's a different situation, if it's Mariota, he goes back and he finishes the game. As is normally the case, this is not specific to this injury with Daniels. Game day adrenaline wears off overnight. Think about any kind of injury. We were actually, this is funny, we were in Minnesota, and one of our buddies, when we're playing football on the field in the dome, Ibby, he rolls his ankle on. I throw it to the sideline, and he's trying to make a catch and toe tap, and he rolls his ankle. That night, initially, it was like getting better as I think we went to the basketball game or whatever. By the next day.
And he was walking around. Didn't feel great, but he was walking, yeah.
The next day, he could barely walk, and he lifts up his jeans to show me, and his ankle is the size of a bowling ball, and it's purple.
Yep.
Like, that's what happened in that time. So to that point with Jayden Daniels, there was probably some swelling, some discomfort, and what was just pain became whatever else. And so I think now, not that anything structurally happened, but the same training staff is looking at this going, well, wait a second. He's in pain. He's sore. There's a little bit of swelling. We're not going to clear him for contact today. And that's where we are now. So I can see how we got here from he could have gone back in the game Sunday. It's just the overall inconsistency of Dan Quinn's answers that's driving me crazy, where one day it seems like you're not shutting him down and playing matters. The next time you talk, well, we're leaving open the possibility to shut him down. Then today you're saying the only thing that's going to matter is his health, and if he's cleared to play next week and he's fully healthy, then we're going to give him a go. Just pick a lane, man. Just drive in one lane. That's all I'm asking. Either it's about his health or it's the record matters or whatever, but you can't straddle both.
Right. I think your hypothesis, what do you want to call it, explanation, your theory, that all makes sense to me. Here's the part that doesn't jive, and this isn't a you reflection, this is a me reflection. If there's just a little bit of swelling or some discomfort, why are we ruling him out on Wednesday unless there's something else afoot? That's my sticking point here, is we now know he can't do it. Period. This week, there was no chance that some swelling would go down because it's a bump or it's a bruise or whatever. If that's the case, then it's more severe than he could have gone back in the game, probably. Or further test give us more truth here, or something. There's an increase in severity that took place at some point if you're ruling him out on Wednesday. If it's, hey, if he gave an explanation just like you just said, where we thought he was good. He came back after we took a flight home, and he slept and he came back in. It was much stiffer and sore. Adrenaline wears off. It's swollen, sore. We're going to see how he is throughout the week. That jives, but no way. He's out. He's not cleared for anything. On Wednesday, or the earliest you could do it, that's the part to me I'm going, something doesn't add up here. More, you know what I mean? Like, that's the part where I cannot get past. If it was a true closer to game time decision, we'll see how he responds to the treatment. We'll see what's going on. Opening the door, we reserve the right to rule him out just out of abundance of caution, et cetera. That would make perfect sense to me.
So they did the thing I've been begging them to do every week, though, which is stop with the dog and pony show.
Which is do it early.
So I'm not going to, scream at them. I can't scream at them when they don't do it and then scream at them when they do. I get what you're saying. It is odd if it's not that serious that you would have ruled him out on Wednesday. But this is what I have been asking them to do all along, is stop with this every single day dog and pony show. When you know, you know. You're saying they should have known, so I guess it's a little bit different, and maybe that's true. But that's where I think actually is, here's a conspiracy theory for you. Meadowlands Turf's a factor.
Yeah. Now, let me clarify one thing. I don't think I'm being critical of them for this part of it. I'm just sitting here going, I saw you said that, and then there's this one big gap that I can't fill in.
No, I understand that. I'm just saying I'm not taking issue with it because this is actually my preferred way of doing it.
If I had on a binary, I would too. I want less willy-woney, and I just want to know right away. But I'm kind of going, that's the only part of this to me that doesn't match up with everything else that's going on.
And if it's a very minor thing about some soreness and some swelling, then you shouldn't know on Wednesday that there's no way. In other words, last week he was not cleared for contact on Wednesday, if you remember. In fact, as of sitting here right now on Friday, it was the first time he got cleared for contact. But they didn't rule him out all week. They waited until he got cleared for contact. Mm-hmm. it sounds to me like his elbow is closer to where it was going into the Broncos game that week when they ruled him out early than it is going into the Vikings game. I think going into the Vikings game, there wasn't really swelling, there wasn't a whole lot of soreness, and they just hadn't cleared him yet, whereas this is now back to the Denver week, which would leave open the possibility of the Eagles unless they just shut him down.